Okay, so I just finished up watching The Dirt, and basic review, I give it about a C. It's basically a glorified VH1 rockumentary type of thing, like the Def Leppard ones and stuff, with I guess, a little bit better budget. It was fun, but definitely a ton of cheese, and I feel it could have been a little grittier, just in my opinion. But let's nerd out and nitpick a little bit of the base stuff in the video. So, what I noticed first off, and my big complaint about the overall performance from the actor and some of the research into it, is the way he's handling the bass, especially the right hand. Uh, in a lot of scenes, dude is playing all the way up by the neck, almost on the fingerboard, and some parts is even full on strumming the bass like he's about to break into an acoustic song or something, which, unless you're doing a biopic on Lemmy or something, you're not really going to see this out of a bassist. And it's kind of surprising, especially since I saw that the entire band, including Nikki, were part producers or had some input into the movie. So I'm kind of surprised something like that would get that badly researched. Especially since with Nikki's technique, and if you've ever watched him, his hand is always locked at the exact opposite, always back by the bridge. So much so that on some of his basses, he's had a metal ring attached just underneath the bridge where he hooks his pinky finger underneath of it. I think he calls it an optograb, where he locks his hand down that hard on it and plays all the way back there. So to have the actor literally on the opposite end strumming the bass parts out like, again, like he's playing an acoustic or something, that's just some bad research, and that's a big fail in my opinion at least. Now, my other big complaint would be about the bass itself. And by that one, I mean the one he had during the Shout at the Devil era, being a BC Rich Warlock. Now, the model they gave him is a BC Rich Warlock, but it's pretty different from the model he actually played. And the model that they gave him in the movie didn't exist for at least 20 years after he stopped playing it. So it's distinctly different from the one that he had. A lot of times you can get away with something like this, but I feel like, especially in Nicky's case, this is a big problem because he was known for that bass. It was so distinct to him. BC Rich got tons of orders because of him distinctly wanting that model with exactly those specs. So much so that people still to this day call it the Nikki Sixx Warlock when they want that specific configuration and layout, that specific headstock, the type of controls that were on it. So it's a really iconic instrument attached to him at that specific period. And they gave him something that really couldn't have been further away from it as far as BC Rich's offerings. Not to mention that the headstock that's on that bass wasn't offered on any of their instruments at that time period. It wasn't even invented until I think another 15, 18 years after. So that's a pretty bad piece on research, and I don't know, to me, it's like the bass version of doing a movie about B.B. King and not having him playing the iconic Lucille that he's known for. So, yeah, again, just bad research, and I feel like kind of a big cop-out, especially when there are other BC Rich basses that are much closer to what he actually played during that era that they could have picked. It's just lazy. Now, my last quick bitch is actually not going to be about the bass. It's just going to be something I've noticed in a ton of documentaries about music, and I cannot understand why this one keeps getting overlooked. In the studio, you see Vince Neil singing into a condenser mic with no pop filter, which doesn't get done ever. The irony being, the sound crew capturing this dialogue in this scene, I can guarantee we're all using the proper windscreen equipment on all of their microphones. And to make it just that much worse, at the end, in the end credits, they show a side-by-side of the footage of the Vince Neil scene and footage that they're imitating with him singing in the studio, and you can clearly see the pop filter on the mic. So, again, just laziness. And if you make a movie about musicians and you know a ton of musicians are going to be watching, this type of just lazy research and stuff. I've been around film crews in Los Angeles, and I know some of the people who do research and things like that, and they go over these things with a fine-tooth comb, making sure everything is excruciatingly period specific, down to the last detail, what should be on that screen, and making it look as accurate as possible. So this just really reeks of laziness and kind of half-assing the movie, and it's too bad because it might have made it that much better or made some of the pretty cheesy parts in it a little easier to swallow had everything been really super accurate. But there you go. My nitpick on the base stuff in the dirt. Check it out. It's worth a watch. And just try not to be too offended by the complete lack of research on the base. In any case, New Metal Microscope episodes coming up here shortly. Subscribe, share, do all that stuff, and I'll see you on the next nitpick or on a gear demo. See you soon.